Welcome to Naval's channel. Today is the next video in our Planets in Astrology series. We'll talk about Mars and Jupiter today. So let's start off with Mars. What is Mars? Mars is the red planet. As you know, the Mars in the solar system is the color red color. And then you might have heard about the term Martian power. What does it really mean? Linking the astrology with the real world, Mars planet in astrology behaves the same way. The red power, red color shows aggression, passion, love. Same things are the symbolizes by the Mars. The Mars shows the courage to fight. The Mars shows the willpower to fight. Wherever the Mars is placed in your Kundli, talks about the qualities you have inbuilt in yourself, where you can fight more, where you can achieve more. Mars aspects 4th, 7th, and 8th house from itself. What does it really mean? 4th house aspects of the Mars talks about the things where Mars really wants to control the things. Let's say Mars is sitting in your 3rd house. That really talks about that you are something who is really passionate about communication, passionate about speaking, talking, public speaking. Mars aspects from 3rd house, the 4th aspect goes into 6th house, where Mars will talk about you want to really control the competitions, control the litigations, control your job if you are an employee. Then Mars aspects 10th house or 8th house, 8th aspect from 3rd house becomes 10th house. Mars aspects the 10th house. That will talk about the things which you are really passionate about. 8th aspect of Mars. You are passionate about your career. You are passionate about the karma, whatever you are doing in that world. And again, if there are other planets aspecting the same 6th house and 10th house and then aspecting Mars, some scenarios may change, but I'm talking about the overall big picture, right? If Mars is debilitated in your chart, then that shows a little lack of energy, a lack of willpower, lack of aggression. Mars is a strong planet. Mars is like an army general, right? Who takes the decision, who goes out in the field and to take the fight. So the careers which are symbolized by Mars are more the careers in which you go into the field. For example, being a surgeon, being a doctor, which goes into the surgeon theater, surgery hall, perform the surgery. Mars is like advocate who goes into the court and fights the cases or fights the opponents. Mars shows someone who is like an engineer who uses his tools to do the work in the actual field. Mars is not a teacher. Mars doesn't sit back and then speak. Mars is a person who is out there in the field, right? Mars is someone who is a soldier, a fighter, who is on the border fighting the enemy, right? Now, talking about the army, there are weapons. So Mars symbolizes weapons also. The metal parts, metal things, they are kind of conjunctly symbolized by Saturn and Mars, but Mars is more weapons. Saturn is more metal. Metals are more symbolized like iron, copper, they are symbolized by Saturn, but weapons are being symbolized by Mars. Okay? Other than that, based on where the Mars is located in your Kundli, the significance, the impact of the Mars changes, right? If Mars is in your 1st house, that will make a person who is in 1st house and is in good dignity, right? It is not debilitated, maybe it's exalted, and good planets are looking at it. So Mars will give positive results. Mars will give immense power to the person to go out in the field. Such person are always energetic and very straightforward in speech also. Mars gives someone really straightforward speech. They don't know how to give diplomatic answers. Right? Mars in 2nd house, let's say. That gives someone who's more focused towards attaining wealth in society, or whose family is very straightforward in speech. Right? Someone who is maybe someone who is belonging to a family of army background. right? Mars from second house aspects fifth house. The fourth aspect goes into the fifth house. Talks about the person really wants to control his education, control his romantic life, control his uh, stock market world, basically like speculative businesses. Someone who is into those kind of things, right? Then Mars in seventh house talks about your spouse. Spouse is very straightforward. Spouse is really someone who is kind of gonna out there in the field and do the job, right? So Mars controls Aries and Scorpio as the lord owner of those two houses. Aries is where the Mars shows about the straightforwardness, willingness to go out in the field, and then full of energy. Just like the Aries is symbolized by the deer who goes out in the jungle searching for food and roams around the whole jungle, right? Eighth house is Scorpio, which is being which is being owned by Mars. What does it say? Scorpio is really deep house, right? Symbolized by the scorpion. Scorpion goes really deep into the water. Scorpio symbolized by very deep analysis, very deep passionate thinking. The passionate side of characterization of Mars comes from the house Scorpio. That's why Mars rules the sign of Scorpio, because Mars is a passionate planet. Mars and Venus aspecting each other or conjunct with each other in the Kundli shows someone who is really passionate in love, who is really passionate in kind of romance, right? Mars and Venus are aspecting each other in 10th house, let's say, or conjunct with each other in 10th house. Someone who is not really passionate about love but also passionate about his career, because the 10th house talks about your career, your karma, right? So this was my analysis about Mars. Let's move on to the next planet, which was Jupiter. So what is Jupiter? Jupiter is, if I translate that into Hindi language, into ancient Sanskrit language, it is symbolized by the term Brahaspati or Guru. Jupiter is a teacher. Any teacher in your life, anyone who teaches you something in life, has been playing a role of a Jupiter in your life. It doesn't go by the age, doesn't go by the gender, doesn't go by the race. Anyone, any animal who teaches you a lesson in life symbolize the role of a Jupiter with respect to you. Jupiter is a slow-moving planet, as you can see in solar system also. So Jupiter gives slow results, not like Mars. Mars is a fast-moving planet compared to other planets in astrology. So Mars is like really fast power, walks really fast, does activities really fast. Not as fast as Mercury, but comparatively fast with other planets like Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu. Jupiter walks slowly, speaks slowly. Someone who is having high Jupiter qualities will be the person who acts slowly, acts very patiently, and is very religious, cultured person. Like Jupiter in first house says someone who is always thinking about learning, always thinking about, like it's in his head, thinking about how to gain more and more knowledge. Someone who is very religious, like Jupiter in ninth house. From ninth house, Jupiter's fifth aspect is going to be on the first house, on the Lagna itself. Talks about someone who likes to do higher philosophy, higher religious philosophies, and who likes to preach also. Jupiter has two aspects apart from the seventh aspect, is fifth and ninth house. Fifth house shows where the Jupiter really wants to share his knowledge, wants to preach his knowledge. Like from ninth house, which is the house of higher philosophies and learnings, Jupiter is looking at first house, which is fifth from ninth house. talks about Jupiter likes to preach into the brain. Those persons keep on giving themselves life lessons from inside, from their knowledge. They keep on teaching themselves more and more by reading books, by talking to people, by attending seminars. They keep on teaching themselves, preaching themselves. And someone with Jupiter in first house, the fifth aspect goes to fifth house. The person will keep on teaching, preaching their kids. Fifth house symbolized by the kids, right? Jupiter in third house. From third house, Jupiter aspect will go in seventh house. Those are the persons. Jupiter in third house shows someone who is like a massive speaker about religion, about culture, about spirituality. For spirituality, Ketu also needs to be there, but Jupiter is more religion, right? So someone who is more religious person, like yoga gurus, who talks about dharma, religion, to masses. Seventh house is massive people, like thousands of people standing in front of you, who are giving public speeches on religion. That is shown by the Jupiter in third house. The fifth aspect of Jupiter shows that, right? There is one more difference between Jupiter and other planets. Is when I say Jupiter is more about gaining knowledge, more and more religious knowledge, but Jupiter is more concerned about wisdom, not money. That is the main difference between Jupiter and Venus, because Venus also give you that capabilities to gain more knowledge, but the purpose of Jupiter and Venus are different. The purpose of Jupiter is more towards wisdom. Like for example, if you see in the ancient stories, right? Like the whenever a sadhu comes in front of the king will bow down to sadhu. King is Venus. King is Venus and Sun, who is rich, who has all the materialistic things in the world, who has all the gold, who has the crown, who is the superpower, right, in that area. And what Sadhu has? Sadhu has nothing. Sadhu has no weapons. Sadhu has no gold, no crowns, no money. Sadhu has wisdom. So king used to bow down to Sadhu. That Sadhu is Jupiter. Jupiter goes towards wisdom, and Venus and king, Venus and sun goes towards materialistic world, especially Venus. So in present world, people who has really strong Jupiter and weak Venus, they will try to go towards wisdom. Always give wisdom preference over money. And then who has very weak Jupiter, like maybe debilitated Jupiter, and then very strong Venus, they tend to go towards more materialistic pleasures, right? If you don't know what Venus symbolizes, go back and check my previous videos where I talked about the meaning of Venus, right? So they will go towards those things. But that is the main difference between what is the real purpose of attaining knowledge from Jupiter perspective. Jupiter is a auspicious planet by default, right? And leads the sign of Sagittarius and Pisces. Sagittarius is the original ninth sign in astrology out of 12, and Pisces is the 12th sign, which talks about moksha, which talks about ultimate liberation from society, from this world. The sign of Pisces talks about someone who has attained the ultimate knowledge. Jupiter in the sign of Pisces shows someone who is inclined towards those learnings, those awakening of Kundalini, which provides you the moksha, which liberates you from the materialistic pleasures and take you towards the path of sannyasa. Like someone who is having Pisces in his 12th house or her 12th house, and then Jupiter is sitting there, not aspected by any malefics, that shows, and maybe if Ketu is also conjunct with Jupiter in 12th house, that shows someone who is like a sannyasi, right? Considering all other aspects are in line with that, shows someone who is on that path, not into materialistic world at all. Okay, so this was my analysis about Jupiter and Mars today. If you have any questions or comments, just feel free to put down a comment in the video below, and see you in the next video. Thank you.